All right, I just wanted to talk about my frustration with this game, with War Thunder. Um, Really, my frustration with where Gaijin has gone and how long we've kind of been stuck here. And I'm going to focus on aviation. I'm really not that adept at ground or helicopters or naval. I've done a little bit, but not much. It's mostly aviation. And I've been playing this game. I started on the PS4, so I'm technically still console, even though I'm on the computer now. But I started this game when the beta was out. So I started in Germany. I got pretty much the entire German tree, with the exception of a few. U.S. I've got essentially the entire U.S. tree, with the exception of a few. Same with USSR, the exception of a few. Britain, I've got probably half of it. I'm going through Japan now, trying to get some of the upper ones. And then France and Sweden, I've got the entire tree. In France, I've got almost everything. So I've been playing this game for a long time, and I just don't really understand how we're still here, right? The top tier aircraft really today, the one that controls the match, it's really the Phantoms, right? And the F4E was introduced in 1.97 Viking Fury, which I believe was March of 2020. So we're over a year and a half, or around a year and a half at this point, of this still being the meta. And Gaijin has kept us here at the F4E being the meta. And for those of you who know, this is the most boring time in aviation history, because this is the time when all the air forces of the world thought, well, now planes are just weapons platforms. They're not dogfighters anymore. They're not meant to handle anything anymore. They're not meant to maneuver. These are purely weapons platforms and weapons systems platforms, and that's it. And that's where we are. And you could tell people are frustrated with this because everyone loves the F5E so much. I mean, look at the repair costs they just increased it to, right? They increased to 21,000 Silver Lions for Air Realistic. And the F5E historically is not even that good of a maneuvering plane. I mean, when they introduced the F-16, when they introduced that MiG-29, the Su-27, even the F-14, they're going to all outmaneuver this plane. They're going to dunk on this plane left and right. So the fact that we're still stuck in this era, and they haven't even really filled in the era. I mean, the fact that the F-105 hasn't been added to this it's a crime. I mean, that plane should have been in the game basically when the F-4E was introduced, because that's a pinnacle plane of the Vietnam War. That was a plane that was used by the Americans nonstop during the Vietnam War. You know, the USSR, I mean, I can't really think of a plane that they haven't introduced that they should. Maybe some of the Mach 2 interceptors, right? The Su-15, the Su-11 and Su-9. Those aircraft could probably be introduced here. As well as, for the USA, the F-106 could probably come in. And then for Great Britain, I mean, it's really the only place I can think of it. You could probably introduce the Avro Arrow, in underneath the Lightning, since it kind of satisfies that same interceptor role. But that's it. We should move on from this. This is insane. The fact that we're still dealing with these aircraft that really are not that fun to fly. The F-4E is not fun to fly. Even the MiG-21 BIS, as much as people love the plane, it's not. It's just not that. It's not really a good maneuvering plane. I mean, if you play this plane in DCS, you'll know that right away. You'll be like, it doesn't like to stay in a turn. It really, it's very unstable. So then they come out with the MiG-23, and this is even worse than the MiG-21. I mean, this plane is awful. Hopefully the later versions will, since they're lighter, will be a lot more maneuverable. But the fact we're stuck here it's baffling. It really is baffling. And on top of that, I would understand us being stuck in this era, right? And Gaijin really slowing down with the aviation research if we had more than just Air Arcade, Air Realistic, Simulator. I mean, how have you not introduced other modes? How are we still doing Team Deathmatch Air Realistic? Gaijin, take a look at these channels like Growling Sidewinder, like what is it? The Grim Reapers. What are they? Which of their videos get the most attention? It's the 1v1 dogfights. How is 1v1 dogfighting not in here? How are you? So many of these planes are really not suitable for the team deathmatch we have, right? I mean, in many respects, even the F5E is really not suitable for it, right? Some of the MiG-21 MF is not suitable for it. You know, how have you not been like, all right, let's have a 1v1 air realistic campaign or air realistic version? People would love that. That's a simple one. You don't need to do any development for it. It's literally you could do it in a single patch. So how is that not here? Also, how is there not something that's more interesting than just team deathmatch? You know, if you want to have 10v10 or 15v15 or however many people you want, how are we not doing something like a carrier strike? Right? How are we not doing something as you spawn in, right, with you have to choose a fighter at first, and ordnance costs points, right? So if you want to have bombs or something, this one doesn't have bombs, but if you want to have bombs on your plane, right, that'll cost something, right? These bombs cost something. The attacker aircraft costs something. So if you want to fly an IL-28, it costs an extra points. Same with all the attackers you could think of, the Jaguars, right? Anything that would be beneficial in a carrier strike, you could create some sort of a mode where the team has a real objective and the match isn't finished until that objective is complete. How are we still doing team deathmatch? Are you just slow in developing this because you want to milk it for everything it has? You want this game to still be around in 10 years and people to be excited for what at F-22 coming to the game? I just don't get it. I'm baffled as to the fact that we're still here, still talking about team deathmatch, the fact that they don't have a 1v1 mode, the fact that they don't have any type of objective team play in the game, some sort of objective that you have to do. I mean, yes, okay, in lower tiers they have your tickets and you have to bomb the bases. High tiers, no one's bombing the bases in high tiers unless it's just to grind a plane. You don't fight for tickets, you fight team deathmatch. How the hell are we still here? How have you allowed us to still be here? I mean, these numbers up here, they're going to dwindle. This is going to dwindle. You're already maxed out with Army. Army, you've got the M1A2 Abrams, you've got the Leopards, you've got the now the T-80, the T-72. You don't have much more to milk for Army. Same with helicopters. I mean, there's not much. There's not much more to milk from this. Okay, fine. You have like battleships to go through. You have maybe some cruisers to go through. Maybe you could even do something with more modern day destroyers for naval. But your bulk of your future gameplay is going to be aviation, because that's where you have the most potential to expand. And you just are dropping the ball. You're keeping us stuck in the most boring era of airplanes. Nobody wants to be top tier, be a MiG-21 and an F-4 Phantom. They want top tier, the top of the line, to be things like the Eagle, the F-15, the F-14, the F-18. They want the Su-27, the MiG-29. They want things like the Mirage, right? The Mirage 2000, the Mirage 5, the Mirage F1, the Viggen, the J39. They don't want some of these planes that really, just mean nothing to most people, right? The Phantom was great back in the 60s. People loved it in the 60s, but it fell out of favor pretty fast once, planes started dominating it like the Eagle. So I don't get how we're still here. We're still fucking around with all these lower tier planes. And every patch you do the same thing. You add new props. And it's like, how many... we have so many propeller planes in this game. Everything from planes that, were barely ever even used to really common planes, right? Planes that were the pinnacle of their time, the Bf-109K4, to planes that really never even got produced, this Ta-152C3. You have everything in here, right? Everything. You have all Spitfires that you can imagine. You even have the Spitfires which never really got used by Britain and were used by Egypt. I mean, holy shit, and you still are adding props. Focus your development where it counts. Focus it where the majority of people play. The majority of people play in these top tiers. They want to see top tier aircraft. They want to see the Tomcat. They want to see even newer Phantoms. You can go beyond the F4E. You can do the F4N, the F4J. You can do the F4F Ice down here for Germany. You can go beyond where you are now. You know, you can introduce the AIM-9L, you can introduce the R60M, you can introduce the AIM-9 Mike, you can introduce the R73. You can they don't have to be perfectly historical. You can adjust things a little bit. Hell, you do it already, right? I mean, the F5C, you gave flares, and it never came with flares. So you already make these adjustments for going away from historical accuracy. You know, you can do them. You don't have to have the AIM-9 mic, have frontal aspect range of, 10 miles. It can have a frontal aspect range of a mile and a half, so that the game is playable. You know, I just don't get it. I don't get how we're still here fucking around for the game mode that started this game. The aviation was the game mode for this game, and now it's just we're slogging through the mud, and every update you give 2 or 3 planes, the majority of which are usually props, and if we get 2 top tier jets, everyone's ecstatic. Meanwhile, we're getting shit like the Su-17, which is fun and everything, but it's not a maneuverable plane. It's not that. It's okay. We're getting this shit, this MiG-23, which is a god-awful aircraft. It's pretty, but it's god-awful. How the fuck are we still here? How have you allowed us to be here? And don't even get me started with these shits. These fucking VTOL aircraft that are just complete gimmicks. That have just polluted top tier. It's baffling. I don't know. So those are my thoughts. Let me know if you disagree.